Hey y'all. So I'm Cam. For those of you that don't know, my part-time job is that I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Dallas this semester and teaching basically creative disciplines for non-gaming, non-animation industries. So think 3D modeling for automotive or UI UX design for retail, etc. And this is that time of year when we're exiting the spring semester when a lot of students are applying to different jobs. And something that I walked my students through that I thought would be helpful to walk this community through is just a few notes on building a portfolio, looking at a few creative disciplines, namely UI UX, industrial design, and 3D art, and just analyzing how portfolios tend to look in that space and what I, as someone who has hired probably 30 to 40 different types of disciplines of students directly out of college into agencies and 3D jobs like that, just what I'm taking away from looking at these. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'll show is my portfolio, which is not meant to be a beacon of hope or truth in what you should be doing. I've created it in a very special way, and I'm also very fortunate in that I have never really had to cold apply with my portfolio to a company because so far every jump that I've made in my career has been through a relationship, through someone who already knew my work ethic and knew my work. So that's one thing to take note of as we're walking through this is that a portfolio is generally step one, but a relationship will always beat out a good portfolio. And make sure that you are prioritizing building relationships, building rapport, and attending conferences and events with like minded individuals with whom you can network. So, looking at this, I essentially have myself put into three words or terms that I want people to think of me as. This is the first thing that you see at my website. I have my work, my interviews that I've participated in, and how to contact me. I have a whole page for interviews and outreach because I really enjoy public speaking and I want that to be something that people know about me when they go to my website. Going into my work, I have this in kind of a grid pattern. I'm using Adobe's My Portfolio, which is great because it has really nice templates for me to use. It's not great in that if I ever stop paying for Adobe, my understanding is that I lose access to this. So you win some, you lose some, I suppose. And if anyone goes to my website, you can see pretty quickly that I work in 3D, what appears to be VR and training, some military, some entertainment AR apps. Looks like an animated short film, a lot of aerospace, both vehicles and interiors and like dining area experiences related to aerospace. And from here, you can dive into each one, and each one has a use case that you can explore. And that's how I've orchestrated my website. The thing that I don't think is great about this is that it forces a person who's looking to hire me to make multiple clicks to really see my work, which is usually not the best. You want to stay away from forcing your employer or interviewer to do more work than they need to do to learn about you. Another one, and I'll caveat all of this with I don't know most of these people, I know some of them. I really just wanted to get a good spattering on Google of different portfolios that I want to show and talk about. So the first thing is this one. I'm unsure why, but it immediately took me to the About Me page. So one thing that I've seen students do is to start with their headshot. It's great. It's wonderful if you have a good headshot, but don't start by showing your headshot. Show your work. That's what I'm here to look at, and that's what I care about. So theoretically, you would start on this page with work. It has a nice welcome greeting up here at the top. He's using black and white. He's a UI UX designer, product designer, it looks like. And I can already see some pretty big names here, whether or not he worked with these brands, just so that he's showing that he has worked while holding these brands' identity. So I'd be curious to scroll down further and see what app he created here. Was this a professional project? What's the case study? And I see here that he has view case study. So if I click on that, I could keep scrolling and see different items here. Quick call out that it's great to show design for applications on the hardware that they're going to be used on. And let's see, so I clicked on this use case, and in here, A lot of text, a little bit boring. Some of this is kind of interesting down here, and a few graphics. I really like the wireframes and the sketches. The 2D is great. So I see a lot of goodness in here. I think that's a great thing to include, is for you to dive deeper into a use case and really see the background of how it was built and why, and a lot of the nuts and bolts that went into it. Next portfolio on the list that I found communicates a very different message from the one that we just looked at. The one that we looked at just then was very clean. It was the black and white traditional design. This is very in your face, if you will. It's got a bit of a muted palette, but this blue on top of this color with a lot of things animating and moving right away. If I scroll down, I see more movement, more shapes, more blue. And immediately I have icons that are kind of blowing up my screen as I hover over them. This is good and bad. It communicates something to me, which is this person really is good at and enjoys working on design for front-end web UI. And I see that throughout what they've labeled over here for website design, UI, UX, for a lot of this stuff. It's a little bit much for me, so if I wasn't looking specifically for someone to work on front-end web, I probably would not move forward with looking at this one. But this is one more way to show off what you do, is cursor styling, logos, animations, etc. And then the last UI UX designer, I just think is really nice and clean. This person's actually using a lot of pops of different color, even though they're all muted and on the same palette. And if you look at their portfolio and their different projects that they've worked on, it's a very clear showing of what they've done on top of a shape that goes with their kind of color profile at the top here. They have a nice logo designed, and I can immediately see what they did and contributed on each of these things. So now if I click on the case study, I see that it's protected. So that's unfortunate that we can't see any more, but I think I like what I'm seeing here quite a lot as far as basic animation when you hover, etc. So this is in the industrial design space. This is an industrial designer's portfolio that focuses on, looks like aerospace design, procedural implementations, some what appears to be 2D painted automotive. We have some weaponry. We have some medical devices. And it looks like some really fun stuff down here like sketches. So I think all this is really nice. You'll notice again a very clean black and white kind of grayscale approach to most of this, but when you hover you get that really nice pop of color. So let's just look at one of these, and I'm going to look at this and say, wow, good design language, really nice composition of framing this stuff up, and clearly has skills in both 3D here and what appears to be 2D here with a bit of photo compositing on top. So some photo bashing skills. All in all, really good stuff. And I would love to learn more about all of this work. So this is one to emulate, I would say, inside of the industrial design space. Our next one is the last one within industrial design, and it's just a call out that each industry tends to function a bit differently. And industrial design is typically far enough outside of traditional 3D art or design that it's approached in a different way. And that is that industrial designers often will submit very long PDFs or full printout booklets of their work. So again, you're seeing blacks and whites. You're seeing logos that you can get to quickly. I really like using this type of effect for showing what your skill sets are and what software you know how to use. So using the logos is great. If someone is hiring you and they're looking for someone that knows Photoshop, they're going to recognize the Photoshop logo. Whether or not you write it underneath is up to you. And then as I scroll down without spending much time on it, I'm seeing really nice design, good pops of color. I'm not seeing anything in the presentation of the work that causes me concern, which is one thing that I've given feedback on, is that it's not just about the product that you've made, it's about how you're presenting the product. You need to have good breathability in your renders so that you don't have a really nicely rendered item that's butting up against the top of the image in which you're showing it, things like that. So all of this is very cool. I would definitely keep scrolling through this if I was looking for someone who had a background in these types of devices and these types of designs. So here is a 3D artist portfolio. Right away, I see that they do a lot, which usually it's a similar analogy to restaurants. If you go to a restaurant and they have 100 items on the menu, you're going to assume that they do all of them kind of mediocre. If they have 5 items on the menu, they better do all of them really well. So, because this person has so many skill sets, I'm going to assume that they're generalist level at most of them and not necessarily specialized in any. But let's say I went to this person's website who applied for a 3D modeling role. I see that they've done modeling and props. I get a pretty good idea of their skill level. I think this is good enough for a lot of things, but it's certainly not a like a principal 3D artist type of portfolio that you would be looking at. So I think our intuition of this person is a generalist who can rig and can animate and can model is probably correct. They're going to be a jack of all trades, as they say. So I think all of this reinforces that, and it could just be that we clicked on a category in which he's not extraordinarily strong, and that's okay. But that's the risk that you take by including kind of that buffet list, is that they click on whatever speaks to them, and if it's not your strongest, then it's not your strongest. This is a very interesting one because it's a demo reel instead of a portfolio. So I'm going to mute this and let it play for maybe 30 seconds. And the biggest thing here is that I believe it said at the beginning there that this is a lighting artist, look dev, compositing, things like that. And looking at this person who has done all aspects of these images, I'm assuming because they're all stills and they're not being walked around, that this is not for games. This is going to be for animations and pre-rendered things. If that's not a conclusion that I'm meant to draw, then it would be nice to see some walkarounds and things like that. I'm also assuming from everything I've seen thus far, and usually 30 seconds is as much as I would expect for someone to give you attention. If you make it to 60 seconds, that's great. But having a 2-minute demo reel, if all of your work in the first 30 seconds or first 60 seconds looks like it belongs to the same game, the same environment, like all of this is very sci-fi clean, then I'm assuming that that's all that this person is good at, or it's all that they're passionate about, meaning that I would only hire them for a project that needs this type of work. So just keep that in mind, is that you don't want to take the opposite approach and kind of rifle in on one specific environment or project or skill so heavily that you make it seem like that's all that you're good at or all that you can do. Last thing is a 3D modeling, 3D artist. I also see a lot of good work from a really well-known IP of New World, of weapons, cosmetics, mounts. I see characters. It looks like more personal projects here, and a lot of good understanding of layout, lighting, texturing, sculpting. Some kind of interesting things here with some special effects and having embers be emissive materials and textures. So this type of stuff I like a lot. The main thing with ArtStation is just know your audience. So if you're applying to a job at Toyota or Bell Helicopter or Lockheed Martin, if you submit an ArtStation, I don't know what the percentage chance is that your interviewer is going to know what an ArtStation is, and that's usually not a good thing. So if you're applying to games and animation studios, then they're going to have gotten many ArtStation links, which is fine. But just know who your audience is when you pick the way that you want to present your portfolio. I think that'll conclude the wrap up for now. This is a pretty quick video. I just want to show a few examples of some do's and don'ts and what I, as a interviewer, would take away from looking at each of these that I hope that has been helpful for us to walk through together. If you have any questions, if you ever want me to walk through a portfolio live, I'm always happy to do that. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya.